Here are 7 life lessons that as a freelancer, I wish I knew earlier. So let's get right to it. Point number 1, stick to a boring routine every single day. I know it's boring, I know it's monotonous, but guess what? It works. So however you manage your clients, however you manage if you have a team of freelancers underneath you, however you manage your work schedule, whatever it is in terms of what you're doing as a freelancer, make sure you have a routine and you stick to that every single day. Maybe you work certain hours. Maybe you handle your clients in a certain way. Maybe you manage your freelancing team on a certain timetable as well. Whatever it is though, but make sure you stick to the same boring routine, because what consistency does, it removes the variables. And when you remove the variables, there's less decisions to make in a day. And instead what happens is that your body, yourself, and your own mindset, you know for a fact that every single day I'm going to tackle these projects, I'm going to execute this work, or I'm going to focus on this element of my freelancing career. When you have an exact routine and you do it every single day, you'll continue to get better. Point number 2, learn to pivot when necessary. Don't get stuck in your ways just because what you think is good, but times have changed. A classic example is this. Content writing was all the rage 5 years ago, and it still is, and you can still make a lot of money with it. But at the same time, with the advent of ChatGPT, we now notice that for a lot of individuals, they're struggling to find jobs in the content writing field. So in that scenario, you have to pivot. If you get stuck thinking that ChatGPT is not going to disrupt your industry, it's going to be a difficult situation for you as more and more individuals and companies use ChatGPT or other AI tools for their content writing needs. Point number 3, it's not about the money. Also consider the time and how to free up your time as well. And there could be many situations that you could do this through. You could hire a VA, a virtual assistant. You could delegate certain tasks to other freelancers, or at the same time, you could learn to say no. For any freelancer, whenever they're starting out for the first time, it's all about the secondary income. And it makes sense because you want to develop a side hustle that gives you additional income. But there comes a point in time when you're so tasked out on the day-to-day in terms of what you're doing that it becomes too much, and then you're losing the most essential thing, which is more important than money, which is time. So you have to learn to delegate or figure out a way, either through hiring a VA or doing whatever is possible to ensure that you still have your time and you're in control of your time as well. The 4th life lesson that I learned as a freelancer is that client management is key. Sure, it's great to know how to apply to jobs, how to win proposals, how to win the interview. All the stuff is good as well, and creating an amazing portfolio as well. That's all great. But the key to success, and when I say that it's long-term success, is knowing how to deal with clients. Because client management is not simply doing the work. Sometimes you have to act like their psychologists, their therapists, coaching them through difficult moments. You have to be there for them, understand their business, their industry, the ups and downs, and everything that goes with it. And if you can master client management, guess what? You're going to be there for the long term, and you're going to have long-term clients as well. Point number 5, whatever you do, go all in. Freelancing is not what it used to be 5-10 years ago. 5-10 years ago, there weren't many freelancers. So you could do freelancing once in a while, maybe on the weekends here and there, and still find a considerable amount of success. However, with the depth of individuals who are starting to freelance nowadays, it's almost impossible to say that you're just going to dabble in it part-time here and there and expect significant success. So if you're considering doing freelancing or working remotely, you have to go all in. And that's the only way you're going to see if you're going to be successful, because the competition level is so high now that someone who's doing something part-time is just not going to make it. Point number 6, don't compare your day number 1 to someone else's day 100 or 1000. It doesn't make sense. And I see it all the time. And that's something that I used to do as well, where I would think to myself when I first started freelancing that, wow, look at that person over there. They're making this amount of money, they're making 5 figures a month, or they're making 6 figures a year. And I was enamored by that, because to me, I was comparing it based on the fact that this is my first day where I started off, and look at that person. But that person, when they first probably started off, they're probably in the same shoes as me though. So when you compare things, compare apples to apples. Don't compare your day 1 to someone else's 2-3 years down the road, or else what's going to happen, you're going to lose motivation altogether. And point number 7, and the last point over here, which I think is the most important point, is developing a high-paying skill that cannot be replaced with AI. I see so many freelancers on the platform these days where they're marketing themselves as data entry specialists or VAs, or doing these sort of basic jobs, when they're not realizing the fact that there's 2 risks to that. Number 1, you have to always consider, can AI replace what I'm doing today? Number 1, because then your job is not going to be there. And number 2, is it a high-paying skill that individuals or companies would pay a lot of money for? There's no point developing a skill which is going to be something where everyone else is going to look at it and say, this is an easy skill that I want to do as well. And then when you're competing for a job, you're competing with hundreds and thousands of proposals. You don't want that. You want a high-paying skill where you specialize in that, where you're competing with a small pool of individuals for jobs, because then you will never run out of work in your industry when you are someone who stands out due to the niche that you're in and due to the expert level that you have.